anything. So I won today. How exciting. Good morning, Tribe Church. My name is Pastor Carrie Dilly. I don't know. I'm so excited to be up here today. This has been such a fun series. And I thought just to make it even more fun, and I didn't know how much time I was going to need, so I thought we would start off with a clip from one of my favorite comedians. His name is Mitch Hedberg. He was a stand-up comedian in the 1990s. If you have young kids, just know that he was a stand-up comedian in the 1990s. And the only thing you really need to know before you watch this clip is that back in the 1900s, when we had small items, we very often bought them with cash. So here we go.
I bought a donut and they gave me a receipt for the donut. I don't need a receipt for a donut. I'll just give you the money. You give me the donut. And the transaction. We don't need to bring ink and paper into this. I just cannot imagine a scenario where I'd have to prove that I bought a donut. Some skeptical friend, don't even act like I didn't get that donut. I got the documentation right here.
Right? Okay, if you are not one of my niece or nephews, just don't listen for a second. Guys, that was one of your dad's favorite comedians, and when you're old enough, we're going to watch all of it, I promise. Okay? Okay. So, here we go. I love observational humor like this because it shows us how ridiculous we are as human beings, how we overcomplicate things. And because I personally have never been asked to prove that I bought a donut. Like, don't even act like I didn't get that donut. I got the documentation right here. Like, I've never been in that situation. And you may actually be sitting, as I'm saying this, you may be overcomplicating this joke. Like, well, maybe they need a receipt for reimbursement. Or maybe they need a receipt so they can put it into their tax or to their budget software. Maybe they need a receipt for tax purposes. Or maybe they want to be able to return the donut or exchange the donut. Maybe you just need to stop overcomplicating and overthinking the joke and just enjoy the donut. Yeah? But isn't that what we do as people? We tend to overcomplicate everything. I don't want to go too broad with it, but God made this beautiful planet for us to live on, and we created credit scores. Left to our own devices, we tend to make things more difficult than they should actually be. We overcomplicate everything. We overcomplicate communication. We overcomplicate decision-making. We overcomplicate relationships. We overcomplicate time management. We definitely overcomplicate cooking. We overcomplicate eating. We overcomplicate our health. We overcomplicate fitness. We overcomplicate technology. We overcomplicate our faith. And that is what I love about this oikos model that we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks, because it is so simple. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has shown mercy on you. Your own people. That's what oikos literally means, your own people. That's how the original verse would have read, go home to your oikos and tell them about how much the Lord has done for you. That's why it says on here, who is in your oikos? And then if you look at the little bottom part of this, which we have a bunch of these cards that you can pick up on your way out of church if you don't have one, it says your own people, your oikos. Go home to your own people. The 8 to 15 people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life, because this is your greatest sphere of influence. This is the oikos model. And when we're looking at the oikos model, I think there's one particular area of the oikos model that we tend to overcomplicate. So we're just going to go over all of it really, really quick. The first thing you do is list. That's pretty straightforward. You write people's names down. You change them if you need to. And then you pray. I want to literally give you some words to pray. You say, God, I pray that blank, whatever that person's name is, would be open to your love and a relationship with you. We pray for them. We invest. This is pretty easy to understand. We spend time with these people. You can do that. You can do that. And we prepare, like Pastor Jason said last week, to become a better example of faith in Christ as a more effective witness of his grace. And I think this one we don't necessarily overcomplicate because that kind of benefits you and them as well. It's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but there are lots of ways to get started, and it's pretty simple to understand. That leaves us with one more, and it's the one I think we tend to overcomplicate. It's the one we're here to talk about today. Invite. How do I invite them? What do I say? Who do I invite? What do I invite them to? How many times do I invite them? When do I invite them? Is it too late to invite them? Is it too early to invite them? Like we tend to overcomplicate the invite. And I think it's partly become the invite is where the risk comes in. Listing names, putting them on a card, there's very little risk to that. Praying over people, there's very little risk to that. Investing in people is risky, I can admit that, but it's more in a people are complicated way than a putting yourself out there and taking a big risk kind of way. And even preparing, getting yourself ready for God to use you in their life, that's very low risk for you. But invite? Literally saying to someone, you need to be in a life-changing relationship with Jesus. You need to be in church every week. You need to be coming to my church. I want you to come to my church. That is a hard thing for a lot of people. The ask is hard because it's risky. So let's see what we can do to make it a little bit easier. When we were first starting Tribe Church about 8 years ago, we moved to Plainfield and we did all the things that they tell you to do when you're starting a church. They said, just start meeting people, like join a gym, hang out in coffee shops, put your kid on a local sports team, get a barber, start a swim school, find ways in the community to meet people. And I was still working about 40 minutes out of town during this time, so a lot of this fell on Pastor Matt. And one day he said to me, hey, I've been getting my hair cut. This was back when he had hair. I'm sorry. He was like, hey, will you come with me to my haircut today? I need you to do that thing that you do where you get people to talk. And I was like, I don't have any idea what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. And you might not have any idea what he's talking about because he's actually very good at this now. But back then he was more awkward. He was less talky. He was less, I know just the right things to say to you to get you to open up to me. And so I went with him and I did whatever it is that I do to get people to talk. And then I invited them to come to Tribe sometime. They never did. You get it. And in the car, he was like, how did you do that? And I want to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I was genuinely like, do what? And so years later, we're sitting, the church is going, people are coming, it's awesome. And we're at this conference with this guy, Tom Mercer, who wrote this book, 8 to 15. And he's talking about this idea that had worked at his church called the Oikos principle. And we're listening to it, and honestly, I am not sold. It doesn't seem groundbreaking to me. It doesn't seem earth-shattering to me or even really dynamic. And all of a sudden, Matt Dilley leans over to me and he says, I can do this. And I was like, what, this? This? You can do this? And he could. And he did. And we shared it with our congregation, and our congregation grew because it works. And it works because it's authentic, because, believe me, people can smell phony from a million miles away. But the Oikos model is organic. It's intuitive. It fits all ages and levels of maturity. It flows naturally out of a Christian lifestyle. It fuels discipleship like no other program on earth. It finances itself, and it is faithful to the Bible. The Oikos model is the most natural organizational principle for both the lifestyle of a Jesus follower and the ministry of the local church. That's from the book 8 to 15 by our friend Tom Mercer. You list out the 8 to 15 people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life. Your pre-Christians, the people who have not yet placed their faith in Jesus, maybe because they're too young to have done that, or maybe because no one has shared the gospel with them yet. And your prodigals, the Jesus followers in your life who are not actively pursuing their faith, people who've walked away from the church or from Jesus or from both. And there's a million reasons somebody becomes a prodigal. And if what had happened to them had happened to me or to you, we probably would have walked away too. So try not to be too hard on our prodigals. And your purposefuls, those who are actively seeking and pursuing faith in their life. These are the easiest ones to list. They're the ones that we want everyone to eventually end up in that place. You don't want your purposefuls to stay purposeful. You want them to become, you want your purposefuls to stay purposeful. You don't want your pre-Christians to stay pre-Christians. You want them to become purposefuls. You don't want your prodigals to stay prodigals. You want them to become purposefuls. And your potentials, those who are leaning into you or to faith or to both. And once your list is done, you pray daily for your oikos, both for them and that God would open doors for you to have opportunities to speak into their life so that they would know him more. And you invest in your oikos. You spend time with them. You watch and you wait for appropriate ways to let God use you and your story to make a difference in their lives. And you prepare yourself. You prepare yourself to be a better example of Christ, as well as a more effective witness of his grace. You read and you listen and you talk and you think and you grow in your faith. And then you invite them to church regularly and thoughtfully. You can do this. Anyone can do this. Again, I think the hardest part of this whole process is actually making that invite, because we tend to overcomplicate the invitation, the bid, the request, the ask, or maybe we avoid it. And so here's the first thing you can do to make the invite a little bit easier. Just add this sentence to your prayer life. God, I really want to invite this person to church. Please open a door and provide me with an opportunity that feels authentic and genuine. Take a picture of this, write it in your journal, type it into your notes app. I'm going to leave it up for a couple of minutes. Pray this every day about someone in your life. Don't pray it about all of the 8 to 15 people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life, okay? Like, how are you going to sit with 15 people at church? You can't do that, okay? I don't want to put God in a box, but that's probably not going to happen. Focus on one person in your oikos. And if you're not sure which one you should be focusing on, he'll tell you. I promise, we talked about it. So here's the second thing that you can do to make the invite a little bit easier. Don't mix up the invitation and evangelism. Evangelism is great. Evangelism is sharing your faith with people. Some people even have the spiritual gift of evangelism. They can't stop telling everyone that they know about Jesus, from their friends to their family to the people that they meet at Kroger, okay? But that's not what the oikos model is. The oikos model is about the 8 to 15 people that God has supernaturally and strategically placed in your life. They are the people that you know and people that know you. Your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your classmates, the people that you keep bumping into in your life, the ones who are leaning into you or to faith or to both. The people that you spend enough time with that you could share your story with them. Because one of the most powerful tools that you have is your story. And if you don't have time to share your whole story with them because they're just in line behind you at the bank, and that's the only time you've ever spent with this person, that's probably the only time you're ever going to spend with this person, that's evangelism. That's not oikos. Evangelism is in a lot of ways less complicated than oikos, because you save the soul, you walk away. You save the soul, you walk away. You save the soul, you walk away. I don't want to simplify evangelism, but it's a little bit like that. Oikos is a lot more complicated. If you have the spiritual gift of evangelism, that is great. We love to see it. Go with God. Go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. That's the Great Commission, and it's the foundation of the oikos model, but it's with our own people. The oikos model is what's going to work for most of us. Most of us aren't going to be missionaries in a foreign country, and that's okay. But it does not get us out of doing our work with the Great Commission. We just get to be advocates for our own people, the 8 to 15 people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in our lives. The authors of the book, The Art of Neighboring, say it like this: if evangelism is your only motive, then you won't be a very good neighbor. However, if neighboring is done with the right posture, then people who don't know God most certainly will come to know him. And that's our goal, right? That's our goal in our community. Oikosing is neighboring done right because it's simple and it's organic and it's authentic and it's uncomplicated, and you can do it. Buried in the story of Jesus assembling his guys, his disciples, the ones who were with him throughout his earthly ministry, is my favorite invitation in the Bible. And it's the third thing you can do to help make the invite easier. The first people Jesus calls are Peter, Andrew, James, and John, and then he calls Philip. And Philip was the same town as Peter and Andrew, and that's about as much as we know about Philip. Jesus says, "Follow me," and Philip just does. And we can assume that there's more to the story because we know more about the calling of Peter and Andrew and James and John, that whole show me the nets and I'll let them down thing. But we don't get Philip's actual story. All we get is the call. The next disciple that starts following Jesus is Nathanael. And I love Nathanael because he says one of just the funniest things in the Bible. I love when the Bible is funny. He says, Nazareth. That's where Jesus was from. He's like, Nazareth? What good can come from there? Nathanael asked. The context behind this line is that as soon as Jesus asks Philip to follow him, Philip is like, I got to get my boy Nate in on this. And so Philip goes and he finds Nathanael and he tells him, we have found the one Moses wrote about. And Nathanael's like, cool. What's his name? Where's he from? Who's his dad? And so Philip tells him, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. He's like, whew. Philip's like, right? And Nathanael's like, Nazareth? Can anything good come from Nazareth? Nazareth, are you kidding me? What good could possibly come out of Nazareth? Nothing good or significant or important has ever, could ever, will ever come out of Nazareth. And Philip doesn't punch Nathanael in the nose, which is what I think Peter would have done. And he doesn't say, well, then never mind. If you don't think that anything good can ever come out of Nazareth, then there's no point for you meeting this guy anyway. I need you to see the brilliance of Philip's response, because he doesn't defend, and he doesn't debate, and he doesn't argue. He just says, come and see. You've got to meet this guy. If I can just get you in front of him, you'll see, you'll understand, you'll get it, and you'll follow. I know you will. Come and see. It's so simple, and yet we overcomplicate the ask. We overcomplicate the invite. We make it harder than it needs to be. And I think maybe sometimes that's because we think if we invite someone to church, it's going to be on us to save their soul. Let me stop you right there. You are way too small to get in the way of God's plan for someone's life. Your job as part of their oikos is to point them to Jesus and then get out of the way so that Jesus can do what only Jesus can do. You don't have to do anything more than Philip. Just say, come and see. Your only job is to get them to the door and to list and to pray and invest and invite for sure. Yeah, but the invite perspective, all you have to do is make the ask. Come to church with me. This Jesus thing has changed my life. It's made my life better, and it's made me better than life, and I want that for you. Come and see. It's so simple. Us making God's commandments overly complicated is not unique to inviting people to church, though. God's very first laws to the Jewish people were simple. Just don't murder each other, okay? And don't lie, and don't cheat, and don't steal. Those are pretty straightforward, right? And then people get involved, and we start adding extra rules and sub-rules and bonus rules, and before you know it, we have 600 rules that the Jewish people are trying to follow. It's confusing. And after Jesus' ascension into heaven, the same thing happens. Jesus left us one command: love one another as I have loved you. so simple. And yet almost immediately it gets overcomplicated because people get involved. In the book of Acts, maybe 15 years or so after the resurrection and the ascension, Paul says to the council in Jerusalem, we should not make it difficult for Gentiles who are turning to God. Gentiles, that's you. You weren't born Jewish. You're not an ancient Jew. I hate to break that to you this morning, but that's not who you are. You're a Gentile. Let's make it simple. Let's not overcomplicate it. Come and see what's happening in my life. Come and see what my church is like. Come and see the cool things that our church is doing in our community. Statistically speaking, studies consistently show that 80 to 82% of people say that they would consider attending church if a friend or someone they knew personally invited them. And that's unchurched people. 82% of unchurched people say that if someone would just say, hey, come and see, they would. Yet only 2 to 5% of churchgoers invite someone annually to church. Go home. Go home to your own people. Your own people is such a simple place to start. There's a level of trust and a level of comfort that goes both ways that you don't have with strangers. When you're sharing your faith with strangers, it's a little sus, okay? Like, what's the ulterior motive here? How does me coming to your church benefit you? But when you're sharing your faith with your oikos, it's about the ultimate motive. That your own people would come to know Jesus. And let's not make it difficult for them. And let's not make it difficult for you. Let's just ask them to come and see. And you might be sitting there and you're like, okay, you've convinced me. I've got some people I'm thinking about. I'm gonna invite them to church, but how do I do that? And who do I invite? And when do I make the invite? And what do I invite them to? And do they have to already be on my list to get the invite? And should I ask them every time I see them? Or like, how should I do this, okay? So here's your rule of thumb. Are you ready? You need to be a vampire, okay? I thought that would be funnier, but you guys are very serious right now. You need to be a vampire when it comes to inviting people to church. And you're like, Pastor Carrie, what does that mean? Okay, stay with me, okay? Vampires are subject to what's called threshold law. A vampire cannot enter a private residence unless they are explicitly invited by someone who lives there. If you haven't been invited into someone's life in some capacity, it's probably not the right time to invite them to church, okay? Now, having said that, if you see somebody out in the world and they're wearing a shirt that says no crying in baseball, be like, hey, our church is doing that. That's fine, okay? That one's okay. But in general, if you've not been invited into someone's life in some capacity, it's not a good time to put them into your oikos so you can relax when you're buying groceries. You don't have to evangelize Kroger or Aldi if you're an Aldi girl. I'm an Aldi girl. You don't have to invite the person that's in line behind you at the bank. Hopefully they're already in someone else's oikos. Focus on the 8 to 15 people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life. And if you're looking for some ways to invite them, here are a few. Okay? First one is big days. Use big days for an authentic invite to church. That's why they're there. They're easy on-ramps for people. Christmas Eve, Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. And we try to build in some series that make it easy to invite people. At the movies, Mixtape coming in November. Our Give Hope series. When's that going to be? I'm not going to tell you. Even this series I think is pretty cool. If you're new here, you're like, what's Give Hope? Oh, I know, right? Don't miss Church at Tribe. That's all I'm saying. Here we go. This is my favorite one. I thought of you. This one is my favorite because it just like, oh, can you imagine like someone saying this? It's so sweet and it's so kind. Like, can you imagine being on the receiving end of this? Like, I thought of you. I heard this message and I thought of you. We're doing this cool thing at church right now and I thought of you. That's why we do summer nights. Hey, our church is playing kickball and I thought of you. There's this huge bonfire and movie night, and I thought of you. We're having a night of worship. We're having a soccer game, and I thought of you. It's a great way to make the ask. Imagine being on the receiving end of that. Like, they thought of me. All the people that are in their life, all the things that are vying for their attention, and they thought of me. I thought of you. Another one is you can sit with me. This goes hand in hand with I thought of you. Hey, if you're nervous about coming, you can sit with me. I can show you how we do it here at Tribe. I know where the bathrooms are. Like, I thought of you. You can sit with me. Another great one is we're getting lunch afterwards. I am not above bribery, people. Food is a great motivator. Take people to lunch after church. Take them to breakfast before church. Invite them on a day when we're doing cool stuff with food, like at the movies or Give Hope. What's Give Hope? You're going to have to keep coming to find out. Share our socials. This is one of the easiest things you can do, ways you can share our church with people. And if you think you can do it better than Linda Bohannon, you can't, but you can try, okay? You don't have to share every post. You absolutely can share every post, but even if it's just to our stories, this helps us so much. Again, you don't have to share every post, but if there's one that's really resonates with you, share it. Or if there's a picture of you, share it. You'd be shocked at how much it helps our reach as a church and how it helps plant seeds with people. Back in our early days, we had a guy who came to Tribe and he said, honestly, I was just sick of seeing your posts all over my social media. I had to come see what this was all about. Our new kids space, our new Tribe kids space. If someone in your Oikos has kiddos, this is a great conversation starter. Hey, our church is opening up a brand new kids space. I think your kids would love it. You should come check it out. And then this one, I want you to meet my people. I've got some great people at my church who've been like family to me, and I'd love for you to meet them sometime. You are an important part of my life, and I want to share this with you. Maybe it's not inviting them to church yet. Maybe it's just inviting them and some people from Tribe over to your house and see if they vibe together, you know, have dinner together, have a game night together, or invite them to a summer night or a Tribe group. Come and meet the people who've made my faith real. They're not perfect. For the most part, they're rejects, misfits, and outcasts, but they love Jesus, and they love me, and they've made a real difference in my faith. Honestly, as long as you are giving an honest and vulnerable invite, that's all you really need to do. This church really helped me when I was in a season that I really needed help, and if you ever need to see something like that, you are always welcome. Honesty opens doors that other things can't. Your story opens doors that other things can't. And there are going to be people in your life that need to hear about Jesus, and they're only going to hear about him if you tell them. I don't say that to pressure you or to scare you. I say it because it's true. And I want to empower you. There are people that only you can reach for Jesus, that God has strategically and supernaturally placed them in your life for such a time as this. And it's up to you to make the ask. Come and see what God has been doing in my life. And I know what you're probably all sitting there thinking. You're like, Pastor Carrie, we get it. The invite, it's great. But what's in the box? I've been dragging this box up here for 3 weeks. I got my preaching knife with me. What's in the box? So what is in the box? Well, we're going to see. I really taped it really well, guys. We're going to see what's in the box. What could it be? It's not a puppy. It's not a puppy. It's all our old invite cards. Like a lot of old invite cards. Like kind of an embarrassing amount of old invite cards. Like, what are we doing with our time and our money? Old invite cards. Like, why aren't people using these? Old invite cards. Like, how come you never taught us what to do with those? Old invite cards. It's old invite cards. Old invite cards. Our mission statement here at Tribe is we want to exist to connect the world around us with the good news of God's love. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to invite people to Tribe. Yes, we pray and we list. Yes, we invest and we prepare. But at some point, you're going to have to make the ask. You're going to have to invite them to come and see, to be part of what you're doing and what we're doing here in the town of Plainfield. If you ever want to see that dial move, you're going to have to make the ask. And invite cards can be a good way to do that. And so back in the day, we made thousands of invite cards. And a lot of them are actually really cool, and they have old information on them. And so if you're crafty and you're like, hey, I have some ideas on how we could get those back into circulation, come and see me after church, and we can talk about your ideas over milkshakes on me. I would love to see these cards out of this box and off this floor. I was careful not to drop it on your pedal, Corey, by the way. And in front of people. Some of my favorite invite cards have been our at the movies cards. These are they're so cute, they're so cool. But I think we messed up because we have so many of them left. And I know we always over-order, and I get that, but people didn't take them and people didn't pass them out, and they didn't put them in a place in their house or at their job or on their whatever and put it in a place where people can see them and start a conversation. And so this year for At the Movies, I wanted to do something really different with our invite cards because At the Movies is such an easy on-road for people. It's fun. It is not unique to Tribe, but a lot of people see it here for the first time. And frankly, I think they see it the best here, okay? If there was an At the Movies competition, I would enter us. I would do it. Especially Pastor Matt, he's so good. This year's At the Movies is gonna be so good. Like baseball movies, come on. Like how can you not be romantic about baseball? There's no crying in baseball. Like baseball, they're just so good. Like I'm a B- at best on the sports, but man, you give me like a good story wrapped around a team, I'm here for it. And so I wanted to make it really easy to invite people to At the Movies. I wanted to make it really fun to invite people to church. So this year, it's not an invite card. There's a box in the box, you guys. Can you believe it? It's Baseballs. And they have the dates wrong, and that's another story for another day. But they're mostly right. It goes to the 24th, not the 17th. It's fine. But they're Baseballs. I wanted to have something that was a conversation starter, that was fun and cute and easy for you to pass out, because let's face it, when you give someone a flyer, you're basically saying, hey, you throw this away. But I also wanted to change the way that we invited people to this church, and so we have a really cool graphic that we're going to be sharing to our socials. So share this to your socials. I wish, again, I could tell you how much word of mouth, boots on the ground, social media posts help. They get us in front of a lot of eyes. You may know something that you know. You may know someone that you know, and they don't know that you both know them. And if you both share, they're like, whoa, what's this? I didn't know you were both involved with that. Churches whose people share posts don't have to waste money on ads because our stuff is getting in front of people. So if you want to share, that's really helpful for us. And let's be honest, I'm way more influenced by something that a friend recommends than I am by an ad sent to me by social media. I wanted to change the way we invite people to At the Movies this year, because 80% of the time, if you'll just ask, people will come and see. People are open, but very few are asked. Personal, relational invitations are by far the most effective way to come and visit, to get someone to come and visit. A simple, sincere invite from a friend carries so much more weight than anything else, except for maybe a baseball. Because it's fun, right? Why not have it be a baseball if you could have it be a baseball? So I want you to think, who in your life needs a baseball? Maybe it's someone that you've been praying for, someone you've been thinking about, someone that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life for such a time as this. Maybe it's someone who might never come to church otherwise, but they would come to church to see Sandlot. At the Movies is such an easy on-road for people. Come and see this crazy church who's showing movies instead of preaching sermons. Come and see all of these people who dress up for all of our At the Movies. Come and see these people try to pull biblical truths out of a bunch of movies about baseball. When I heard they were doing baseball movies at our church, I thought of you. I know A League of Their Own is your all-time favorite movie. You can sit with me. I know you've been out of church for a long time, but this isn't like anything you've seen for a while, I promise. Let's be people who take this seriously, not because we have to, but because we get to. Let's stop overcomplicating the ask, the bid, the invite. The genius of the oikos model lies in its simplicity, because it is not on you to save the whole world. It's not on you to save anyone, but there are a handful of people that God has strategically and supernaturally placed in your life, people that are not there on accident. Friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, classmates, people that only you can reach. People who trust you, who will open up to you, who are watching how you live. And you don't have to have a Bible degree. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present and faithful with what God has already given to you. And make the ask. Extend the invite. Extend the invitation. So who's on your card? Who's in your heart? Who's on your list? Who are you praying for? Who are you investing in? Who are you preparing to walk alongside? And who do you need to invite to church? Let's pray. God, to keep us from overcomplicating the ask. Thank you so much for trusting us with our people, the handful of people that you've strategically and supernaturally placed in our lives. Make us brave enough to make the ask, to invite them to church so that they could know you more. Thank you for the names and the faces and the relationship that you've already placed in our lives. Give us eyes to see them the way that you do. Give us courage to love boldly, to serve patiently, and to speak gently, and invite faithfully. Help us not to miss the mission that you've placed right in front of us. Use us, Lord, for their good and for your glory. Help us to make the ask, and we trust you to do the rest. Amen.